Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Ishan Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories. And one of the big developments that happened today was, of course, on the political front. With just tomorrow, the Parliament session, the winter session of Parliament starting, hectic political parleys are underway to ensure there is smooth functioning of the House. But will that happen? We'll get you on-the-ground reports on that. But first, the headlines that we're tracking right now. Government reaches out to the opposition on the eve of the winter session of Parliament. Prime Minister appeals for cooperation in passing the GST legislation. Three terrorists killed after a gun battle at army base in Tangdhar sector of Kupwara district. 4 army jawans injured, 1 civilian dead. A day after Turkey shot down a Russian combat plane over Syria, NATO and United Nations urge both nations to de-escalate tension. Second pilot has been rescued. And in the Nagpur test, India restricts South Africa to 11 for 2 wickets after ending their first innings for just 215. A top story this evening, the winter session of Parliament beginning tomorrow promises to be a stormy one, with opposition parties looking all set to close ranks to target the government on several issues. And the government will certainly find the going tough as it tries to get the GST bill passed. It has, however, expressed readiness to discuss all issues. The first 2 days are for 2-day special sitting to discuss the Constitution and its maker B.R. Ambedkar on his 125th birth anniversary. Legislative business will begin on Monday. And a meeting of the BJP's parliamentary party is underway at the Prime Minister's residence, where they will chalk out a strategy and work out floor coordination plans. NDA constituents will also meet at the Prime Minister's residence afterwards. And let's get you updates from on the ground. We have Shyam Sundar standing by at 7 RCR, and Vishal Daya, correspondent, is live from our newsroom. Shyam, I'll come to you first. As far as the NDA's floor strategy goes, for the NDA, this session is really critical. The GST bill, all eyes on that. But there are other key legislations, other reform measures that the government would try to push through.
Well, Ishan, definitely GST will be the priority for the government. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley yesterday said in a program that government is ready to walk extra mile and ready to accommodate suggestions made by main opposition party, Congress and other opposition parties. But he warned that insisting on all amendments suggested by Congress can damage the basic architecture of the GST, and it can further damage the interest of the states. And apart from GST, real estate regulation bill is also there, which is also on the priority of the government. So there are many important bills, and right now a meeting is going on at 7 RCR here. All top leaders are there at Prime Minister meeting, and they are working out on a strategy how to reach out to the opposition. But what I feel is in last session we have seen that opposition was demanding Prime Minister to lead from the front, and if government really wants to break the stalemate and want smooth functioning in the Parliament, then Prime Minister has to lead from the front from the government side.
Indeed. Shyam, stay on with us. We also have our correspondent Vishal Daya, who's been tracking the all-party meeting also that happened earlier today. And Vishal, as far as the opposition strategy is concerned, the opposition certainly buoyed and united, especially in the light of the Bihar election victory. So what do we expect from the opposition's front?
Well, Ishan, as far as opposition is concerned, there is no dearth of issues for the opposition to raise in this session. And as we have seen from the statements which have been coming in from the opposition leaders since last few days, and today also after the all-party meeting, leaders of the opposition, specifically those from the main opposition party, Congress, made it quite clear that this is not going to be a smooth affair for the government and the treasury benches that's running the House during the winter session. They put the onus entirely on the government, though all the opposition parties have expressed their willingness to, ensure support in smooth functioning of the House. But then the issues which they have given notices under, for example, the Congress has given a notice under Rule 193 on intolerance, the issue of intolerance in the lower house, that's Lok Sabha. Also, there are several other notices which have been given by party leaders on other issues. There are parties who have also given notices on the same issues in the upper house as well as in the lower house. So obviously, as I was saying earlier, there are a number of issues which the opposition is keen to go ahead and take up for discussion. The government on its part, as Shyam was saying, that has clearly indicated that it is willing to walk that extra mile. It is willing to accommodate all the suggestions which are coming in from the opposition. But we will have to keep a wait and watch policy and to see as to whether or not the suggestions which are going to come in from the opposition, specifically on issues like GST, there are 3 reservations which the Congress has. There are few reservations which left parties have. So whether or not those reservations, those suggestions are going to be incorporated by the government or not is something which both us and the opposition will be watching keenly.
All right, Shyam, coming back to you now, as far as the BJP is concerned, it also has its allies in the NDA, and they would also be meeting later at the Prime Minister's 7 Racecourse Road residence. But in a sense, as far as the NDA is concerned, are they firmly with the BJP? Because between the previous session, that's the monsoon session, and the winter session, there have been instances where the allies have not seen eye to eye with the BJP. So how does the NDA look on that front?
Well, as far as NDA is concerned, especially Shiv Sena have some kind of reservation on certain issues, but more or less all NDA partners would support BJP with some kind of decent notes in the debate and discussion. But as far as smooth functioning of Parliament is concerned, I don't see any NDA ally creating problem for the BJP.
All right, so the ally is not creating a problem for the BJP, but Vishal, coming back to you, is the opposition united? You said that various parties have given various notices on different issues, but as far as the overall opposition unity is concerned, because what one gets in his reading is also that the government's attempt would be, if the opposition tries and really strong-arm the government, then they would try to isolate the Congress party and reach out to other opposition parties. So what's the opposition unity like?
Well, this is going to be a little difficult for the government this time around, because given the fact that, a certain section of the opposition, specifically 3 major parties, that's the Congress, RJD and JDU, fought together in Bihar elections and they've come out victorious. Obviously, we can go ahead and see them standing together for this entire session. There are others as well. There are smaller constituents. There are parties which do not have significant numbers in the House, but they are, if put together, all these parties might come up as a significant bloc. For example, Mulayam Singh Yadav Samajwadi Party, Mayawati's BSP, Mamta Banerjee's TMC. So obviously these are regional parties, state level parties which have their interests in those specific states. So obviously they will go ahead and further those interests and sort of keep a safe distance from both the BJP and the Congress. But then the opposition, specifically the Congress, can heave a sigh of relief from the very fact that there are elections which are going to happen in West Bengal after a short while. There are elections which are going to take place in Uttar Pradesh, also very crucial for both SP and BSP. Right. So obviously these parties would keep that safe distance from BJP as well, from the NDA as well. So there will be some sort of support for the Congress-led opposition bloc. But then if the government strategy is to create a wedge between the opposition parties, that is something which seems a little difficult for them to do right now.
All right, Vishal, do stay on. Shyam, meanwhile, thanks very much. We'll let you get back to that meeting over there to see what the latest developments are. And Vishal, stay on, because I want your comments on this particular story. Because earlier today, an all-party meeting was held in a bid to find the middle path and help the House function without disruptions. The Prime Minister in particular sought the opposition's help in passing the GST bill.
At the all-party meeting, various leaders expressed their desire to raise issues related to farmers, rising prices and the debate over intolerance during the winter session.
जितने सवाल चाहे वो किसानों के हों, बेकारी बेरोजगारी के हों, चाहे जिसे एक साधारण वे से कहा जाता है कि जो टॉलरेंस है, ये सब मुद्दे अभी सब तरफ से उठे हैं।
हमारे बहुत से मुद्दे हैं जो हम रूल 55, 56 में एक 5 सब्जेक्ट दिए हैं और 193 में भी पहला जो इंटॉलरेंस का विषय है वो विषय ऑलरेडी हम नोटिस दिए हैं उस 193 के तहत.
The opposition put the onus of smooth functioning of the houses on the government, which said it was willing to discuss all issues. The Prime Minister appealed for cooperation in passing the GST bill.
जीएसटी के बारे में प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा वित्त मंत्री सबसे बातचीत कर रहे हैं. उन्होंने अनुरोध किया और किसी के मन में कुछ शंका है तो उसको दूर करने के लिए सरकार तैयार है.
Congress and the left are keeping their options open on GST bill, saying the government has not yet addressed their concerns.
जीएसटी तो हमारा बिल था और जीएसटी को पास करने के लिए हम वचनबद्ध हैं. हम चाहते हैं कि जो भी बिल हो जीएसटी का वो प्रो इंडस्ट्री हो, प्रो ट्रेड हो और प्रो कंज्यूमर हो. हम खाली इंडस्ट्री की बात करें और कंज्यूमर को बुरा उस पर इफेक्ट पड़े. आप इतने टैक्स लाद देंगे. अब हम 18% क्यों कहते हैं कैप रखो 18%. अगर आप कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अमेंडमेंट नहीं लाओगे कैप के 18% से ज़्यादा नहीं होगा तो आप एक साल 18 लाओगे, दूसरे दिन 20 लाओगे, फिर कहोगे पैसा और जोड़ना है 22 लाओगे और चलते चलते वो 40 पे पहुंच जाएगा.
सिर्फ एक मुद्दा है जहां पर राज्य सरकारों की सहमति की जरूरत है, क्योंकि जीएसटी आने के बाद किसी भी राज्य सरकार के हाथ में कोई भी टैक्स प्रपोजल रखने का अधिकार नहीं होगा. सरकार से हमने कहा कि राज्य सरकारों से बात करके उनकी सहमति लेकर आप आगे बढ़िए, लेकिन अभी तक कोई सूचना सरकार ने नहीं दी.
The opposition attack could gain momentum from next Monday when the government brings its legislative agenda to the table. The session commences with a 2-day special sitting to discuss the constitution and its maker, B.R. Ambedkar, on his 125th birth anniversary. 38 bills, including some finance bills, are awaiting parliamentary approval. Vishal Dahiya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And let's go back to Vishal Dahiya. Vishal, we've been talking about the efforts that have been made to reach out and really build that communication between the opposition and the government, which really has broken down in a sense. And one of the efforts was, of course, by the Lok Sabha Speaker. So, in a sense, what do we see? Because Monday is when the real legislative business starts. And it seems that all sides are saying that, yes, we'll want a smooth functioning of the House. But is that really going to happen?
Well, Ishan, these are, statements which are sort of, typical before any session begins. The government says that almost before every session, the government says that it is willing to discuss everything which the opposition wants. The opposition says that they are willing to go ahead and ensure the smooth functioning of the parliament. But the real action begins when the proceedings start. And we've seen time and again, specifically during the last session, that there was a huge sort of, trust deficit between the Treasury and the opposition benches. There was not much, talk which was happening. And apparently that was one of the reasons why, the entire session was wiped out because of certain demands which were put forth by the opposition. They were not acceptable to the government. And in this particular session itself, also, there are certain issues which which might end up being causing a little bit of discomfort to the government. Now, opposition would obviously like to go ahead and corner the government because this is the time when, the opposition has its chance to go ahead and show that the government has failed on one part or one count or the other. But as far as the government is concerned, the government would try and speed up that, the process of clearing those legislative bills, specifically those reform measures, and more specifically amongst them, the very crucial, the GST bill, which has been hanging fire for quite some time. There is a deadline for 1st of April 2016, which is just about 5 months from now. And it seems almost impossible that that deadline can be met unless that particular bill is cleared in this particular session. So obviously both sides have their priorities clear, both sides have their strategy clear. We should wait and watch as to what exactly transpires for the next 3 weeks.
All right, let's see who draws first blood. Vishal Dahiya, thanks very much for that particular input. Moving on now, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi interacted with about 1,500 second and third year degree students at the Mount Carmel College in Bengaluru. It is the start of a series of visits which Rahul is expected to make to colleges and universities across the country. In a speech devoted to criticizing Prime Minister Modi's government, Rahul said while democracy is about conversation, the Prime Minister had not once called anyone from the Congress party, calling it a soot-boot ki sarkar. Rahul alleged that only one person decides in this government. Then Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi said his party strongly believed in the GST, but the government needed to reach out to the opposition on certain issues.
We have a number of issues in Parliament. We are going to raise the issue of intolerance. What has been happening over the last couple of weeks, it's very disturbing. Prime Minister's silence on these issues. GST, of course, is going to be part of the conversation. There are other issues. Corruption in BJP states is also an issue. Hindustan का मतलब live and let live. ये देश भाईचारे का देश है, प्यार का देश है, मगर बीजेपी की सोच, आरएसएस की सोच एक हिंदुस्तानी को दूसरे हिंदुस्तानी से लड़ाने की है. इससे देश को बहुत नुकसान होगा.
We'll take a short break. On the other side, all the international news and sports news as well. Stay tuned.
Get live Rajya Sabha session. News, views, reports and analysis you can trust on social media. Subscribe, follow, like Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Now, 3 terrorists who attacked the Indian Army base in Tangdar sector of Kupwara district of Jammu were killed today. The heavily armed terrorists killed a civilian and injured 4 army jawans in the gun battle.
3 terrorists were shot dead at the Indian Army base camp in Tangdar sector of Kupwara on Wednesday. Armed with small arms and grenade launchers, they were killed in a gun battle that lasted 7 hours.
सुबह हमें एक रिपोर्ट मिला कि वहाँ पर 31GR लोकल यूनिट है आर्मी का, उसके अंदर कुछ ब्लास्ट की आवाज़ हमें सुनाई दी, उसके बाद कुछ फायर शॉट्स की भी आवाज़ सुनाई दी.
About 80 soldiers were present in the base during the attack that claimed a civilian's life, and 4 soldiers were also injured. Terrorist outfit Jaish-e-Mohammed claimed responsibility for the invasion. Meanwhile, 100 kilometers away, anti-terror operations entered the second week in the Manigarh region in Kupwara district. Last week, Colonel Santosh Mahadik was killed here in an encounter.
Attack on army installation in Tangdar is, in my opinion, intended to release pressure from what is building up in Kupwara against the infiltrators. As we know that encounters in Kupwara have been going on for quite some time.
The army also uncovered a major militant hideout in Poonch district. Security forces launched search operations in the Dungi-Cheed forest area near Mangnal village and recovered ammunition that included an AK-47 rifle and Chinese grenades. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
A high-level inter-ministerial central team will visit Tamil Nadu tomorrow to assess the damage caused by the recent floods in the state. The team has been deputed following a request from the Tamil Nadu government to Prime Minister Modi. Representatives of the Ministries of Agriculture, Finance, Rural Development, Drinking Water and Power from Delhi will be part of the team. They're also likely to visit Puducherry. Over 160 people have lost their lives in rain-related incidents in Tamil Nadu and neighbouring Andhra Pradesh since the 1st of October due to the floods caused by incessant rains. Some international news now, and NATO and the United Nations have urged both Turkey and Russia to de-escalate the tensions over the shooting down of a Russian combat plane by Turkey. Meanwhile, the missing second pilot has been picked up alive by the Syrian army. The violation has turned into a geopolitical mess.
One of the 2 Russian pilots who were ejected from a jet shot down by Turkey has been saved by Russian and Syrian special forces.
2 pilotes, quand l'avion a été abattu, les 2 pilotes se sont éjectés de l'appareil et l'un a été d'abord blessé quand il descendait avec son parachute et puis achevé d'une façon tout à fait sauvage sur le sol, par terre, par les djihadistes qui étaient dans la région.
Meanwhile, Russia has accused Turkey of violating the Syrian border, egging the blame game further.
Это же подтверждается данными сирийской противовоздушной обороны. Более того, по данным радиолокационной разведки, аэродрома Хмимим.
In signs of deepening divisions between the countries, NATO and United Nations have appealed for calm. They have asked the two sides to take urgent measures to de-escalate tensions.
The Secretary-General urges all relevant parties to take urgent measures with a view to de-escalate the tensions, and he hopes that a credible and thorough review of the incident will clarify the events and help prevent future recurrences.
However, amid the prevailing tension, Turkey found some support from the US and France, who claimed that a country has the right to defend itself.
I think it's very important right now for us to make sure that both the Russians and the Turks are talking to each other, find out exactly what happened, and take measures to discourage any kind of escalation.
Oui, cet événement qui s'est produit est grave et évidemment regrettable. La Turquie est en train de donner toutes les informations en ce moment même au Conseil Atlantique pour savoir exactement ce qui s'est produit.
Despite the raging tensions, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says Turkey does not wish to escalate the issue further. This even as Russia vowed to continue airstrikes near the Turkish border. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, Brussels started to return to normal after 4 days of lockdown. In fact, but the police are still hunting for prime suspect and 10 others involved in the November 13th attacks in Paris. There are fears that they could be planning further violence. Nearly 300 police officers stood guard outside city schools. Around half of the city's metro stations were open, with some 200 soldiers assigned to protect them. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi will meet US President Barack Obama on the sidelines of the Climate Change Summit in Paris next week. The meeting will happen on the first day of the summit, the 30th of November, as part of the US's effort to work with key players for a strong global deal on climate change. Obama will also hold a similar meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The agenda of the meet is to push for an ambitious and fair agreement at the climate conference. The UN Chief Ban Ki-moon has hailed India's plan to slash greenhouse gas emissions. Speaking ahead of the crucial Paris Climate Summit, Ban said that India's efforts towards cutting emissions indicates its seriousness in confronting the challenges of climate change. Ban also backed India's concerns over the lack of climate ambition displayed by developed countries on both fronts of mitigation and support. He asserted that developed countries need to take the lead on climate action. Time now for all the other international news in Global Buzz. A bushfire is burning out of control over an area of about 3,000 hectares in the state of South Australia. Australian media reports that a firefighter was injured while battling the blaze and then sub-property has been damaged. Aircraft have been dropping water to control the fire. After a jihadist attack that killed 12, Tunisia has declared a state of emergency throughout the country and imposed a curfew in capital Tunis. This is the second time that the government has declared emergency following an attack. In an effort to reduce violence against women, the UN has launched a campaign called the Orange the World. The campaign will run till the 10th of December and will include lighting up of national landmarks with orange lights, the colors of hope. Some sports now, and South Africa trailed India by 204 runs in their first innings at Nagpur. The visitors lost 2 wickets in reply to India's paltry 215. Dean Elgar and Hashim Amla were at the crease as South Africa scored 11 runs at the end of play on day 1. Spinners dominated from both sides, with India losing 6 wickets against South African spinners. Ravindra Jadeja and Ravichandran Ashwin shared the wickets for India. Earlier winning the toss and opting to bat first, Indian batsmen fell in quick succession. Murli Vijay was the top scorer with 40. At one stage, the hosts were reduced to 125-6 before a steady partnership between Riddhiman Saha with 32 and Ravindra Jadeja with 34 took India past the 200-run mark.
Riddhiman Saha, brilliant catch by JP doing it. Amit Mishra, the ball that kept low and got him right.
Time now for all the other sports action in SportsBeat. Indian shuttlers HS Pranoy and Sai Praneeth advanced to the pre-quarterfinals of the Macau Open. In the second round, 7th-seeded Pranoy defeated Chinese Taipei's Lin 21-19, 21-15, while 15th place Praneeth beat Uzbekistan's Artyom 21-11, 21-8 in the other match. Barcelona and Bayern Munich have secured a spot in the Champions League knockout stage. Barcelona trashed AS Roma 6-1, while Bayern claimed a 4-0 victory over Olympiacos. Arsenal beat Dinamo Zagreb 3-0 in the Champions League to keep their qualifying hopes alive. Ozil's header put Arsenal ahead before Sanchez doubled the lead with a right footer. Later, Sanchez's goal sealed the win for Arsenal. FIFA Vice President Michel Platini could face a life ban from football. According to his lawyer, the FIFA's ethics committee demanded a life ban for his alleged role in financial wrongdoing. Earlier, Platini appealed to the Court of Arbitration for Sport against his 90-day ban after it was rejected by FIFA. The ban will put Platini out of the FIFA presidential race next February. Well, that's a wrap on this show, but before we go, we'll leave you with this. Sikhs across India celebrated the birth anniversary of their founder and spiritual guru, Guru Nanak Dev Ji today. Thousands of Sikhs gathered at the historic Golden Temple in Amritsar to pay their respects. In Delhi, devotees gathered in Sikh temples from early in the morning and offered prayers. We leave you with these images.
अजूनी सैभम गुर प्रसाद जप आद सच जुगाद सच है भी सच नानक हो से